"Please, that hurts," the boy whispered. And when the rancher finally looked down, he realized the blood on his hands was not his own. The scream cut through the desert night like a knife through rawhide. Silas Crow froze in the doorway of his barn, lantern shaking in his grip, heart pounding so hard he could hear it over the restless snorting of the horses. He had lived alone on the Crow Ranch for 12 years, long enough to know the sounds of coyotes, of wind tearing across dry plains, of wood settling in the dark. This sound was different, human, broken, begging. Silas followed it to the far stall where the shadows clung thick and black. There, huddled against the wooden rails, was a boy no older than 15. His shirt was torn, his face swollen, one eye nearly shut. Rope burns ringed his wrists. When Silas stepped closer, the boy flinched so hard he hit his head against the post. "Don't," the boy gasped. "Please, that hurts." Silas dropped the lantern. It smashed, flame licking the dirt before dying. In the dim moonlight, Silas saw the marks clearly now. Boots had kicked this boy. Fists had landed again and again. And suddenly Silas knew exactly who had done it. The town of Dry Creek had been rotting for years. Silas cut the ropes with his knife, hands trembling despite the thousands of times he'd used that blade. The boy sagged forward and Silas caught him before he hit the ground. He was lighter than a sack of grain, too light. Hunger light. "Easy," Silas murmured, though his voice sounded strange to his own ears. "You're safe now." The boy laughed weakly, a sound empty of humor. "Ain't nobody safe in Dry Creek." Silas carried him into the house, laid him on the narrow bed. As he cleaned the wounds, anger rose in him like a storm he'd been holding back for years. The sheriff, the deputy, the men who drank at Miller's saloon and called themselves respectable. They had done this. He had seen them drag the boy through town earlier that evening, accusing him of stealing bread. Silas had looked away then, just like everyone else. When the boy finally slept, Silas sat at the table staring at his hands. They were big hands, scarred and calloused, hands that had broken horses and hauled fence, posts and buried his wife and child after the fever took them, hands that had sworn never to kill again. At dawn, Silas saddled his horse. The town was already awake. Dust rose under boots and wagon wheels. Conversations died when Silas rode in. They knew him, the quiet rancher who paid on time and spoke little. They did not know the look in his eyes. He went straight to the sheriff's office and kicked the door open. Sheriff Dalton looked up from his desk, surprised more than afraid. "What's this about, Crow?" Dalton asked. Silas placed the bloodied rope on the desk. "You recognize that?" Dalton's jaw tightened. Boy, had it coming. That was when something inside Silas snapped. By noon, Dry Creek was buzzing. People gathered in the street as Silas dragged the sheriff and 2 deputies outside, stripped of badges and pride. He did not shoot them. That would have been easy, too easy. Instead, he tied them to the whipping post in the center of town. The same post they had used on drifters, on Indians, on anyone too weak to fight back. "You don't have the right," Dalton spat. Silas leaned close, voice low. "Neither did you." One by one, Silas forced the townsfolk to look, to see the bruises on the boy's body, to hear his cracked voice describe the kicks, the laughter, the pain. Some turned away. Some cried. Some stayed silent, which was worse. Then Silas did the unthinkable. He handed the whip to the boy. The crowd gasped. The boy's hand shook as he took it, eyes wide with fear and disbelief. Silas knelt in front of him. "You don't have to," Silas said. "But if you do, they'll feel what you felt. And everyone will remember." The first strike was weak. The second stronger. By the third, the sheriff was screaming. Silas watched, not with pleasure, but with grim resolve. This was not revenge. This was truth laid bare in the open sun. When it was over, Silas cut the men loose and told them to leave Dry Creek before sunset. They did. The boy stayed. Weeks passed. The ranch felt less empty with another soul in it. The boy's name was Eli. He learned fast, worked hard, laughed sometimes. The scars remained, but they no longer defined him. One evening, as the sun bled red across the horizon, Eli asked, "Weren't you afraid they'd kill you?" Silas looked out over the land. The fences standing straight, the horses grazing free. "I was afraid every day I did nothing." The wind carried the sound of Dry Creek far behind them, quieter now, changed. And for the first time in a long time, Silas Crow slept without regret.